Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage, where we take a look at games, preview and review the ones that we can, chat about the gaming news in the industry, and of course stream for fun. Today, I feel like I gotta talk about a topic. Hopefully this isn't gonna go too long, maybe 10-15 minutes, but I feel like I need to talk about, has Fortzone killed the expectations of the gaming community? And what I mean by that is, we've had a certain type of more interactive, more exciting, more colorful, in every sense of the word, more stimulating games, generally speaking, over the last 10 years, especially over the last 5 years, compared to what we've had in the past. And some games come out, and I feel like the expectations are misled, whether by the companies or whether by the community themselves, on what they think the game is going to be like. And yes, ultimately this brings it up because of Starfield. Now, if you've played the game and you've put in a good chunk of time and you don't like the game, that's fine. Refund your money. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about the expectation that some players have seemed to have, and also including some reviewers, on why they're downgrading and thinking that Starfield is a horrible game or a cash grab or something like that. And no, I can't agree with that, and I'm going to explain why. So first, we need to think about what games were. Okay, they used to be a story that you walked through or played through with characters. A character for yourself, learning about yourself as a character, whether you were Alan Wake or John Marston or something like that, or Master Chief, right? And then there were supporting characters with that as well, like Ghost or Captain Price, or like Knuckles, or Clank, things like that, right? Dexter. There were supporting characters that kind of made the IP or the franchise like it was supposed to be. Or Zelda. That's another great one. Half the time we barely even saw her. But yeah, there were supporting characters, and this really is what made the good story. And the games that had the best stories, they were the ones that sold the most copies and they made money. Well, fast forward to today, we've had this transition of more active, interactive, colorful, exciting, fast-paced gameplay. So this is like Fortnite, Apex Legends, Blackout, which turned into Warzone. We also had PUBG. We have Escape from Tarkov, and etc. And even the birth into mobile games to kind of make it more exciting. And we've also had games, too, that have still told good stories. Like God of War, like Valhalla, like Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. We've still had good ones like Ghost Recon Wildlands. We've still had good campaigns from some of the older Call of Duty and Medal of Honor games. And the list goes on. Legend of Zelda, etc. Like Tears of the Kingdom. Or like From Software games like Elden Ring. You get the gist. And the reason this comes up, I think, with Starfield is because no one is really talking about this yet, and I wanted to make a separate video on this, is that I think people had misexpectations of what Starfield was supposed to be. So I've heard some people were hoping it was more like Interstellar, where there was exploration and wonder and all of this stuff, which that's a 3-hour movie, by the way, and if you had 3 hours into Starfield, or even 10 hours into Starfield, you just barely scraped the surface of what Starfield is. I'm basically getting close to 30 hours now, and I still feel that way. There's people that played 125 hours that also felt that way. They felt like they barely scraped the surface. And people's expectations, I'm not entirely sure what they were thinking of, but it's like, okay, this is a Bethesda game. So whether it's Ubisoft or Square Enix or EA or DICE back in the day, or Valve, or I'm pulling out some oldies, or Insomniac or Eidos, okay? These companies made certain type of games, right? They had certain type of, or even like Valve and Gearbox. So they had certain types of feels to them. The IPs kind of had the game that they started and then moved to expansions or improvements in certain things. And we're not talking just bug fixes. We're actually talking expansions and improvement and mechanics in the game, whether it was minimap or gunplay or whatever else. and we got to a point where we had some really, really good games. And I'm glad I'm not the only one. I've been seeing it in the comments that, basically kind of latter 2000s, half of 2010s was like the golden age of gaming. Before we had all of this, all Fortnite, all kind of PvP, type of focus and multiplayer and Game Pass and all of this crap, in my opinion. The whole push of NFTs for several years, which they're not gone, folks. But, like, we've gotten away from what gaming was. And let's say we've now had this period of time, and then we get a game that takes, like, 20 hours to get into it. Are people... I don't know if people are really willing or wanting to wait that long to get into a game. And for some people, depending on what you did in Starfield, takes you maybe 15 hours, or maybe takes you 5, or maybe takes you 25, and anywhere in between. But Starfield was designed as a passion project. If you weren't able to see that during Starfield Direct, I don't know what to tell you, but that was 40 minutes of the lead developers or lead heads of their departments talking about what they did, how they designed things, what are the things they thought about. I mean, that was one of the longest showcases for a video game ever. And when Redfall failed, I think Microsoft and Bethesda understood that they had to make a sale on Starfield, and everything they talked about during the showcase is exactly what's in the game. And things were laid out very clearly, including with further interviews and further gameplay. Like, I don't feel like they sold us something like Modern Warfare 2. I don't feel like they sold us something like Gollum or like Forspoken. I don't feel like they sold us something like Saints Row. We got what they showed. And they were very clear, too, that, hey, this is at 30 frames. Like, they literally telegraphed pretty much everything in their game of what the questions were, what the expectations were. And again, folks, one of the biggest complaints that I hear, which I agree with, there are a lot of parts of the game that are slow and boring. But again, what do you expect from a space exploration game? Just like No Man's Sky, there's a lot of running around a planet, okay? And surveying stuff, looking for particular minerals or deposits. It's very time consuming, even in your ship. Except there's more than just 5 or 8 different locations or types of buildings. There's multiple different layouts. I'm in a base right now that's kind of fun to go through, and there's like 15 spacers in there that I'm taking on. And it's fun to take on. But, I mean, once you basically saw a section of the planet in No Man's Sky, that was the whole planet. You didn't have to fly the whole planet. That's what it was. But as I'm exploring planets in some areas, or even some moons like Europa or whatever, and taking a look at the kind of different biomes on the planet, well, you kind of have to travel around. And you have to take time to explore and scan everything. And maybe if you don't see something in this biome, you might see it in a different one. I mean, I've had the same world have deserts, lush forests, all the way up to, like, where it's constantly snowing 24/7. All on the same planet. And that's great. That's great. That's better. We have a wider variety of buildings, too, and structures. That's great. We want that. We've also had different side quests that take hours. That's wonderful. We don't want to just go pick up a pair of shoes for somebody or just deliver a package from A to B. It's okay to have those, but we don't want all of them, right, to look like that. But I just want people to take a time. If you hated the game or just thought it was meh, why did you think that? Was it because your expectations weren't met? Was it because maybe on PC your game crashed a bunch, or maybe even on console it crashed a bunch? Maybe you had something where you didn't save and so you had to go back and play the whole last hour? Maybe you were like me where I quick saved at the wrong point and I was basically caught in a death loop, and so I had to go back to the latest save, the previous save. and I lost a little bit of progress. For some people, I'm sure it's more than just, 5 or 10 minutes. And yeah, I'm not saying the game is perfect. I have multiple complaints too. But there shouldn't be any degree of misunderstanding of what we were supposed to expect. Because we've had from Morrowind to Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 76. We've had all of those games. They have telegraphed everything. And I mean, all of those are implemented into Starfield, including additional stuff they've never had in games before. Like space combat and shipbuilding. Like, none of that is new. And people have complained about being over encumbered, about having to run everywhere. And yeah, I agree with the running everywhere. That does get old. But it doesn't kill the game for me because it's a Bethesda game. And I think we need to understand that. Now, if you've canceled or have refunded your money and you can't go back to Bethesda, it's not the game for you, that's okay. But maybe Bethesda is no longer a company for you to buy games from. If you like the previous stuff, play the previous stuff. I don't really like the new Call of Duty, so I play the older Call of Duty. And I have a fun time. And we shouldn't feel like we need to enjoy something when we don't enjoy it. But sometimes we can have an incorrect perspective on something. And sometimes when we understand our perspective, we can take a look at something and have a different take on it. Because the more I play Starfield, the more I'm enjoying it. It is way more than what my expectations ever were, including watching almost all of the interviews with Todd Howard. I watched all of Starfield Direct twice over because I was doing news on it. I took time to watch every single gameplay trailer that was out there. I took time to read and watch all sorts of stuff when early access hit. As soon as it started showing up on the YouTubes, I was watching it. But I think just in this case, the game is not broken. The game is completely playable. This is the most stable they've ever made. But again, this is a Bethesda game. There's differences from Sega or EA or Ubisoft or Square Enix or Activision or Blizzard. We have a level of expectation, and I just wonder what was missed with Starfield. If you take the last 3 iterations of Bethesda games and then create a new IP that's space exploration, guess what? It's gonna be like Fallout 5 in space. I agree with that. You still have the item stuff, you still have the mods, you still have the space and outpost building, you still have all of the NPCs and side quests, you still have all of the different types of main weapons. You have the space exploration this time. You have all of the running, which that hasn't changed at all. You just get to see more as you're running. And yeah, I do agree, it is boring. But yeah, take time to think about that. Maybe after some thinking, maybe you want to try Starfield again. And if you honestly don't, that's okay. But I don't want people to hate on a company that has... than any other... I'm serious, folks. Bethesda has telegraphed their game more than any other company in the last 3 years. We knew more about Starfield than any other game. And to say that the game sucks because it didn't meet our expectations is kind of immature and a joke. Because what were your expectations? I mean, do you expect every game to be catered to you? We still have people, too, that are like, look, I didn't like Elden Ring because it was too hard. Okay, play something else. But some From Software isn't going to change their game design and level design and how their game mechanics are because people don't like that particular type of game. I'm not overly excited for Baldur's Gate 3 because it's a turn-based game. And the reason that's a problem for me is I have a pretty busy life, and so turn-based means things take longer. It means that I don't like it. Turn-based is fine. I'd rather care more about the character development and the story and the mechanics in the game. But the fact that it's turn-based, it just takes forever for me to get anywhere. It's tough. I'd rather have real-time strategy because I can progress further in the game with the same amount of time. And maybe as life slows down in the next decade, maybe I'll be able to do that. Maybe I'll be able to enjoy turn-based games more. That's why, too, I never played Final Fantasy. Now they're more real-time strategy, so yeah. But now I'm so far behind I don't even know what's going on. So yeah, take a look at your expectations, folks. And two, I feel like people don't appreciate a good book anymore. Myself included. Life is too busy, too fast. The way we live and the way in which we consume information and entertainment is just at the fastest pace possible. And so I feel like Bethesda makes games that are more like a book. It takes time to get into them. It takes time to learn about what's going on. It takes time to learn about kind of the pace of the story and learn about the characters. But yeah, Bethesda does not make movies. They make books. And if you can't take the time to invest the time to get into the book, that's okay. But don't say it's a bad game. Because it's honestly not. It's the best one they've ever made. And again, if that style of game just isn't for you anymore, then don't buy Bethesda anymore. Because I highly doubt anything is going to change after Starfield. Elder Scrolls 6, which is several more years down the road, I highly doubt much is going to be different from Skyrim, from Fallout 76, or from Starfield. So that's all I got to share with you, folks. If you guys enjoy the channel and all that, go ahead and share it. You guys are the ones that are going to be sharing the channel, letting it known out there in the interwebs. If you enjoy the content, you can go ahead and follow me over at Twitch at Don't Tread on Thee. I don't have a normal schedule. I just do things when I can because it's so crazy over here. And then you can always follow me over at YouTube at Gaming Garbage 22, where I save everything that I basically stream. And so with that, folks, I hope you guys are doing well. Hang in there. If times are tough, do not quit on yourself. Keep going. Even if you rely on you, you're still worth it. And with that, folks, I'll see you on the next one.